thanks to Lord Krishna. In this epic tale of the Mahabharata, Dharma beats Dharma thanks to Lord Krishna. Shantanu was a great king with a kingdom so vast, a warrior unbeatable on a chariot so fast. He came to the river banks and saw a fair maiden. She was the divine Ganga, and it seemed she was waiting for him to come by. That's what he was thinking. I must marry you at once, he said without blinking. Ganga accepted with one stipulation: you can never question me or I'll leave your nation. After their wedding they had 7 sons, but one after another she freed them at once. When it was the 8th son's turn to meet his fate, Shantanu stopped her and told her to wait. She explained why, but he asked a question, so she left with her son and promised to return him. After 16 long years of despair, Devavrata returned and answered his dad's prayer. This boy was magnificent with all divine qualities. His father was amazed by his combat and diplomacy, but still Shantanu's heart longed for love, until he saw Satyavati, fate's son from above. He asked for her hand, but her father denied, until Devavrata came and inquired why. The fisherman king wanted his line to be royal. With one terrible vow, he showed he was loyal. Epic tale of the Mahabharata, Dharma beats Dharma thanks to Lord Krishna. In this epic tale of the Mahabharata, Dharma beats Dharma thanks to Lord Krishna. The gods named him Bhishma because of his sacrifice. His father blessed him, he could choose his last night. The king and queen wed and had 2 sons, but after some time the king was undone. Chitranga the elder, he was crowned king. He died, so Vichitravirya stepped in. Bhishma brought him 2 brides to marry, but he died with no heir for his name to carry. 2 princes were born with Lord Vyasa's boon. Dhritarashtra blind, Pandu pale as the moon. Blindness prevented the elder from the throne, so Pandu ascended like Indra he shone. Pandu had 2 wives, Dhritarashtra wed Gandhari. To the forest Pandu went, for a curse he had to carry. With help of gods Pandu had 5 sons, King Dhritarashtra's children 101. Epic tale of the Mahabharata, Dharma beats Dharma thanks to Lord Krishna. In this epic tale of the Mahabharata, Dharma beats Dharma thanks to Lord Krishna. Pandu then died, and so did Madri. Pandavas went to Hastinapura all with Kunti. Hatred arose as cousins grew together. Drona arrived to teach them to fight better. They grew big and strong, like gods they did shine. Succession discussed, Yudhishthir next in line. Duryodhana's jealousy prompted a scheme. Pandavas burned in a palace it seemed. Kunti and the Pandavas escaped through a tunnel. While roaming the jungle they met demons to pummel. Hearing tales of Draupadi, whose beauty was legendary, they followed the procession to see who she'd marry. It came down to a task that was solely Arjuna's, so the princess picked her groom and left with the Pandavas. They asked their mother to come see their alms. Divided amongst yourselves, she said with no qualms. Surprised at the order, they were taken aback, but Sri Krishna came to explain destiny's path. So the 5 brothers married the princess of fire and grew an alliance with the king who's admired. Now that the news of their existence reached home, the king called them back and Duryodhana's anger shown. The kingdom was divided, half went to Yudhishthira, barren land now opulent with the help of Maya. Epic tale of the Mahabharata, Dharma beats Dharma thanks to Lord Krishna. In this epic tale of the Mahabharata, Dharma beats Dharma thanks to Lord Krishna. Displaying their prowess, Rajasuya was conducted. All kings paid homage, but few were reluctant. With the Lord's help, Jarasandha split in half. and the other kingdoms came in line at last. Distraught by the wonders the Pandavas created, Duryodhana hatched a plan for a rage game to steal it. Kingdom and brothers lost, Draupadi insulted, the elders just watched, dismayed and repented. The kingdom returned, the Pandavas went home, called back by the king to play final dice throw. Losing it all to the forest they went, 1 year incognito, 12 years exile spent. Arjuna in heaven obtains divine weapons, it's time for incognito to the dark they step in. Duryodhana attacks to find out his cousins, Brihandala slays soldiers by hundreds of dozens. In this epic tale of the Mahabharata, Dharma beats Adharma thanks to Lord Krishna. In this epic tale of the Mahabharata, Dharma beats Adharma thanks to Lord Krishna. Peace talks fail because of false pride. Duryodhana won't budge, he sticks to his lies. 11 to 7 Akshauhini amassed, they look like oceans wide and vast. Arjuna wavers and loses his path. Shri Krishna reveals the Gita at last. Millions of people, elephants and horses, Pandavas and Kauravas killing their forces. The war begins and millions are lost, grandsire and children, such a high cost. Finally Duryodhana faces his cousins, Bhima breaks his thigh and that ends him. In the dark of night, through trickery and sin, the Pandavas lose their sons and their kin. Victory was theirs, Yudhishthira was crowned, Bhishma's life and chanting God's names aloud. In this epic tale of the Mahabharata, Dharma beats Adharma thanks to Lord Krishna. In this epic tale of the Mahabharata, Dharma beats Adharma thanks to Lord Krishna. For 36 years the Pandavas prospered, they were able to enjoy all that they conquered. But after Bhagavan left the earth, they had no reason to stay, they fell to dearth. Crowning their grandson to the great throne, they start their last journey which had to be alone. One by one they fell to death's abode, Yudhishthira remained with the dog who he owed. Refuge and protection he could not abandon. The dog Dharma himself was testing his son, a final test for the king of Dharma. At passing, he joined his brothers with Indra. In times of trouble we must remember the Lord's words for Arjuna that lit an ember. Whenever there is a decline of Dharma, then I come forth to heal the trauma, for the sake of protecting the good at heart and vanquishing everything where evil starts, for the sake of establishing righteousness and joy. I am born from Yuga to Yuga. This concludes this epic story where Dharma prevails through the Lord's glory. In this epic tale of the Mahabharata, Dharma beats Adharma thanks to Lord Krishna. In this epic tale of the Mahabharata, Dharma beats Adharma thanks to Lord Krishna.